Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and welcome back to another week of What's for Dinner. If you're new here, hello and welcome. I am Taylor. I'm a stay-at-home wife and mom, and I share these What's for Dinner videos every Sunday to hopefully motivate y'all to cook more for your family and to hopefully also give you some new ideas of some recipes to try. I also do these videos to motivate myself. So if you like these kinds of videos, I hope that you will subscribe down below, and any recipes that I mention are always linked down below as well. This week's What's for Dinner is actually a collab with my friend Bethany over at Budget Bethany. I have collabed with her in the past. She's a super sweet mama, and she also does What's for Dinners and grocery hauls and things like that over on her channel. Today she is also sharing a What's for Dinner, and it actually has a grilling theme, so most of the recipes are going to be made on the grill, which I am super excited to check out because it's getting warmer and I've been wanting to cook on the grill. So I'm excited to get some inspiration from her for that. So make sure you click the link down below and head over to her channel and check that video out as well. Now let's go ahead and get into this week's What's for Dinner. It is Friday night, and tonight for dinner we are doing wings. It is Andy's birthday and he requested wings. It's not something that I make often because it's just time consuming. But we already had the wings in the freezer because the last time I made wings I bought 2 bags, not really knowing how many we needed. And we ended up only using 1 bag because it was the perfect amount for our family. So this is a 4-pound bag of wings that I bought at Aldi. I thawed it out and then I just dried it off. I took all of the wings out and laid it out on paper towels and let them just kind of sit there on the paper towels for a few minutes and kind of drain off any excess moisture. And then I patted off any excess moisture. So they're pretty dry and now. And I have made these in the air fryer before, but I'm doing it a little bit different this time. I am going to use some baking powder to hopefully get it extra crispy. I've heard that baking powder does that, so I found a recipe to use, and I'm not following it exactly. I just kind of wanted to see how much to use, and she said to use half a tablespoon for 12 wings. So I have right at double that. I think I have about 30 wings in here. I didn't exactly count them. I stopped when I got to 20. But I'm going to add probably about a tablespoon of baking powder. I'm going to do some garlic powder, some onion powder, and some salt and pepper. Those are the seasonings that I always do because the kids will eat these without any sauce. So I do want to give it some kind of flavor. Also, you know, seasoning makes everything taste better. So I will do those seasonings, and I will have to cook these in 2 batches. That's what I did last time. This is what I will cook them on. I lined my thing with some parchment paper for easier cleanup, and I'm going to try these on 425 today. She said to go as high as your air fryer will go. Mine will go really high. Let's see. Yeah, it says it'll go to 450, but I'm going to do 425 and check them at 10 minutes, flip them over, and then cook them for about another 10 minutes. If your air fryer doesn't go as high, usually I do 400, and it takes 25 to 30 minutes per batch of wings. So if I can get it done in 20 per batch, that would be great. And then I'll just turn my oven on warm and keep the first batch warm while the other one cooks. So I am going to season these up and get them going in the air fryer. Okay, wings are done. I also made some fries in the air fryer. They definitely turned out crispier than they usually do. I haven't coated Andy's, that's like his pile, and then a couple extras. I don't know exactly how many he wants, and I don't know how much sauce he wants. I think he likes more sauce on his usually. I've got this one, not exactly my favorite, but it's the one that Aldi has, so we will eat it. This is Elijah's plate. We've got some veggies and fries, as I said. He's got carrots, pepper, celery, and cucumber. That is Lily's. Tomato, cucumber, and peppers. Andy's just missing the wings. And then mine, and we'll have some ketchup. I got that on the table already. Ketchup for our fries. And as I said before, it is Andy's birthday. This is what he picked for his birthday dinner. And his favorite cake is funfetti cake. So that is what I made him. It's a funfetti cake, but it is rainbow chip frosting, because rainbow chip has the sprinkles like inside of it, and it's way better than funfetti frosting. So that will be dessert. And that is going to be dinner for Friday. It is Saturday night, and tonight for dinner I just kept it simple and did spaghetti. Usually on Fridays I edit, and so Fridays I usually do an easier dinner, but as we know, last night was Andy's birthday and he was off all day, so I did not edit at all yesterday. So I've spent most of today editing the What's for Dinner that goes up tomorrow for me. So last week's What's for Dinner for y'all watching this now. And so dinner was just quick and easy spaghetti. We are trying a new sauce. This is the premium marinara from Aldi. I saw on Facebook this was being compared to the Rayo's. I've never tried the Rayo's marinara spaghetti sauce. But this is being compared to it because everybody said it tastes just as good, but then also the nutrition facts are, I think, the same or basically the same. It has like very minimal amount of sugar. So if you're into that kind of thing and you want to check this out, there's that. I haven't tasted it yet. It smells amazing. It is a chunkier sauce, so if you see it, there is like bits of tomato and stuff. But I will definitely be sure to update y'all and let you know what we think. We're just having that with some garlic bread tonight. So I really like the sauce, but the kids did not care for how chunky it was. So if you like your sauce really chunky, I think you would definitely like this sauce. Sunday night I made a sheet pan Parmesan chicken thighs and potatoes meal. So I started off by cutting up 3 potatoes into about 1-inch pieces, and then I got those in a bowl and I put some olive oil on them and some salt and pepper, Italian seasoning, and garlic powder, and then I put these on my sheet pan, and I started by just cooking those at 400 for about 15 minutes to give them kind of a head start, because the potatoes are going to take longer to cook than the chicken thighs. So I just wanted to get those in there while I worked on the chicken. So I'm not working exactly from a recipe for this. The recipe that I originally found was for chicken thighs and green beans, but we don't really care for fresh green beans. So I decided to do potatoes, and I'm also just adjusting this to be a little bit simpler. So the recipe wanted you to like dip this chicken thighs into mustard and then like coat it with the Parmesan cheese. But instead I decided to season my chicken thighs with the garlic powder, Italian seasoning, and some salt and pepper, and just kind of like coat them with that seasoning and then some ground mustard, and just like get that all over. And then when my potatoes came out of the oven after that 15 minutes, I just laid the chicken thighs on the sheet pan in the middle and put some Parmesan cheese, like kind of pressed it into that mustard, and then sprinkled some Parmesan cheese on the potatoes as well. And then this went back in the oven for another 25 minutes. This turned out so good. That mustard on the chicken made it like so juicy. I mean, chicken thighs are already like not super dry, but the mustard just, it was such a good flavor, and we really enjoyed this dinner, and I would highly recommend trying it. And since we're not fans of fresh green beans, like I said, I just served it with a can of green beans on the side. Seasoned the way I always do it, with some Badia Complete, some chicken bouillon, a little bit of butter, salt and pepper, and garlic powder. Okay, it is Monday night, and tonight for dinner we are doing burgers. I am making goat cheese and bacon burgers. I am actually going to put this goat cheese in with the meat, like mash it all together, instead of putting it on top, because I think that'll be really good. Well, I know. I haven't done it with the tomato basil one, but I've done it with just regular goat cheese before. This is the tomato basil one. I bought it on markdown at Aldi. I think they just did it because they couldn't tell that it was May on here. I don't know if y'all are gonna be able to tell if it'll focus, but the Y was rubbed off on May, so I think they just like marked it down because they thought maybe it was March, but it wasn't. So I got that for a really good price. It was just over $1. So I'm going to take some of that. I don't know if I'll do all of it, I will see. But some of that, mix it in with the ground beef. This is like 1.25 pounds of ground beef. And then I'm going to add a little bit of salt. The goat cheese is a little salty. Not as salty as like feta. But I'll add a little salt and a lot of pepper. And then I will just fry those up in my cast iron pan. Use a little bit of bacon grease. Fry those up. And then we'll add some bacon and maybe some cheddar cheese to our burgers as well. I just cooked this in the oven on 400 for about 25 minutes and it's perfectly crispy. So I am going to get started on this. Okay, here are our finished burgers. Just kept it simple, added some cheddar cheese on there with that, and then the bacon, and then I have barbecue chips with mine. Instead of making like fries or something, I decided to just kind of, all of us eat some chips because we have like a bunch of like random bags of chips that need to be eaten up. So Elijah has the Lay's fried pickle with ranch chips, and I started them each off with half of a burger, but since we're not like having a bunch of sides or anything with this, they'll probably eat more. Like I made 3 right now, so they'll probably split that third burger, and then I'll make the other 2 when Andy gets home later. And then Lily picked pretzels to go with hers. So that is going to be dinner for Monday. Tuesday night we had nachos, and I tried a new recipe for refried beans. This time I did an Instant Pot recipe. So I will have that full recipe linked down below that I used. And I started off by adding some bacon grease to the bottom of my Instant Pot and letting that get hot. The recipe said your choice of oil, and typically in refried beans you use like lard, so I thought the bacon grease would give a nice flavor. And then I added in some diced onion, and I just sauteed that for a few minutes until it was translucent. Then I added in about 4 cloves of minced garlic and cooked that for just a few seconds before adding in some cumin, chili powder, cayenne pepper, and salt. And if you don't want it to be spicy, I definitely recommend leaving out the cayenne pepper. And then I'm also going to add in 2 cups of dried pinto beans that I have rinsed, and 3 cups of chicken broth. And then I also did 1/4 of a cup of sliced jalapenos or diced jalapenos from the jar. The recipe said to do half of this jar, but I thought that was going to be way too much, and I was right. So if you don't want spice, again, leave the jalapenos out as well. This cooked on manual high pressure for 45 minutes, and then I let it do a natural release, and that took about 20 minutes. So after that, I just opened the lid, and then I used my immersion blender. You could also just use like a potato masher, and I like blended everything up. These were really good, but as I said, I didn't do all of the jalapeno juice, and I cannot imagine how hot they would have been had I done like the half of a jar of the jalapenos and juice like it said. So we ate them like this for dinner, and the kids had no complaints. They said they were spicy but good. They like kept drinking water and said they were really good. I ate them too, but I think they were a little bit too spicy. So what I ended up doing was making another batch and just leaving out the jalapenos. I did the cayenne pepper and everything the same. And then I just mixed the two batches together, and I thought it was perfect. So next time I would definitely do less of the jalapenos when I do another batch. But these are great and way faster than making them in the crock pot, and just as good. So we used our refried beans on our nachos. I had some taco meat that I had already cooked up the week before, and I pulled that out from the freezer, so it was quick and easy. And the boys had nachos, and Lily and I had totchos. So I just made some tater tots in the air fryer, and then we put all of the usual nacho toppings on top of the tater tots. And then I froze the rest of those refried beans in Ziploc bags, quart-size Ziploc bags, flattened and laid in the freezer. Wednesday night's dinner was a recipe that I found on the HelloFresh website. I haven't actually used HelloFresh in years, but I love going on there and looking for new recipes to try. So this one is called Bayou style crispy tilapia, and so I'm starting off by preparing the ingredients for the sauce, which is called remoulade. Don't know if I'm saying that right. I looked up a pronunciation video to get as close as I could, but it's like French. So yeah, I'm not very good at French. So I started off by cutting up a lemon into wedges, and then I have 4 green onions, and I'm cutting up the white part and the green part because we're going to use both parts. The remoulade is made by mixing together 4 tablespoons of mayonnaise, 4 tablespoons of mustard. I did a stone ground mustard, but it called for Dijon. I just didn't have Dijon. 4 tablespoons of sour cream, a teaspoon of paprika, which I kind of went a little bit overboard on the paprika, but it's okay. And then a squeeze of lemon juice, some salt and pepper, and then the whites from the green onions. And then it said just to mix that together, but I mixed it together and then I used my immersion blender on it because I'm not too fond of like chunky sauces like tartar sauce and whatnot. But I just used the immersion blender on it because I like the texture better that way. And then I refrigerated this until we were ready for dinner. So I will have the HelloFresh recipe linked down below for you guys if you're interested in that, the exact measurements and everything. I didn't follow it exactly. So they served it with potato wedges, which I am doing. I'm cutting a couple potatoes into wedges about 1/2 inch thick. And then I'm going to put those on a sheet pan and toss them in some olive oil with a little bit of salt and pepper and some Old Bay. They use like their fry seasoning, but I thought Old Bay would be a great seasoning to use on them, and they turned out so delicious. And I ended up roasting those on the top rack in the oven on 425 for 25 minutes, and they turned out so crispy. Now for the tilapia, in one shallow bowl, I'm mixing together 1 cup of panko, 2 tablespoons of cornstarch, and some Old Bay. They did not have you putting any seasoning in this, but I just couldn't do it. I couldn't not put seasoning in like that breading that's going on the fish. So I did add Old Bay to that, and then I stirred that all together, and that's what we are going to be dipping our tilapia in. And then in another bowl, I mixed together some more Old Bay with 4 tablespoons of sour cream and 2 tablespoons of some water. Now I thought I had only pulled out 4 pieces of tilapia, but I had actually pulled out 5, so I had an extra piece. But I dried them all off, and then we are going to be cutting them in half. You'll end up with like 1 thinner piece and 1 thicker piece, and then we'll dip them in that sour cream mixture and then into the breading mixture, making sure to pack on that breading, and just repeat that with all of the pieces. In a large skillet over a medium-high heat, I added some oil and heated that up. I added the oil until it was about 1/3 of an inch up the side, and then when that was hot, I cooked my fish in batches, cooking on each side for about 2 to 3 minutes till it was nice and crispy. And fish doesn't take long to cook at all, so the thicker pieces took about 3 minutes per side, and those thinner pieces took about 2 minutes per side. So as I mentioned, this was a HelloFresh recipe. They had it paired with a side salad. So that's what I did for myself and Elijah. And then Lily just had some tomatoes with hers. And they said to put the remoulade on top of the fish and then the green part of the green onions on top. And it was so good. I couldn't get anybody else to try the remoulade, but I really, really liked it. Even the potato wedges were really good dipped in it, and this was great as leftovers too. I'm actually sad like looking at this because there are no more leftovers. I ate the last of it for lunch today. It was so good. I reheated in the air fryer and that worked out perfectly, so everything stayed crispy. Highly recommend checking out this recipe. It was so good. Definitely probably my favorite meal of the week. Thursday night I was making chicken enchiladas, and I completely forgot that I was making chicken enchiladas until about 4 o'clock, and I hadn't pulled any chicken out of the freezer, so I had to kind of improvise. And I pulled the chicken from the freezer and just threw it in the crock pot with some taco seasoning, the rest of a jar of salsa, which I also rinsed with water and dumped in there, and then some lime juice. And then I cooked that on manual high pressure for 22 minutes and then let it do a natural release, and it came out absolutely perfect. And it's times like these when I am very thankful that I have an Instant Pot, because you can cook frozen chicken in there super quick and easily, and it turns out perfect. So when it was done, I just used my little meat masher thing and shredded up the chicken. And then since I am turning this into enchiladas, I don't want them to be super soggy, so I did drain off the rest of that liquid that was in there too. Then I am using corn tortillas for these enchiladas, and the last time I did this, I don't think I heated them up, or if I did heat them up, I heated them up in the microwave, but this time I am going to fry them just for a few seconds on each side, just to kind of toast them up a little bit and make it so that they're easier to fold and they stay together better, because last time they were like all falling apart. So I got some tips from y'all and some tips online to do this first. So I just heated up like a little bit of oil in the bottom of the pan and then fried up 12 little corn tortillas. So I've got a 28-ounce jar of enchilada sauce. I get this enchilada sauce at Dollar Tree, and it's surprisingly good. And it's only $1 for this giant can. And I didn't actually use all of it, but I'd rather have too much than not enough. So I spread some of that in the bottom of my 9 by 13 inch pan, and then I started rolling up these enchiladas. I did like pat each one of them dry with a paper towel so they weren't too greasy, and I put some of the chicken on there and some cheese, and then I just lined them up in my pan. And then once I had them all rolled up and lined up in my pan, I poured on some more enchilada sauce. As I said, I didn't use the whole can, just enough to cover all of the enchiladas, and I sprinkled on some more cheese. I used cheddar inside the enchiladas, and then I used Colby Jack on the top. And then I baked these at 350 for 30 minutes, and then I broiled them at the end for 1 minute. And here is how they turned out. These were probably the best chicken enchiladas I have ever made. The chicken inside was so flavorful, and the corn tortillas, because I had already fried them, just turned out really well. They weren't falling apart or anything. And I just served this with some of my Instant Pot Mexican rice on the side. I will leave the video that I have for that down below. And that is going to be it for this week's What's for Dinner. I hope that you guys enjoyed it. I hope that you got some new dinner ideas. Don't forget, as I said at the beginning, this week's video was a collab with my friend Bethany over at Budget Bethany. Make sure you check the link out down below, subscribe to her channel, and check out her What's for Dinner for this week. As always, thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see y'all on the next one. Bye!